Good. Town at James Island regular town council meeting is hereby called to order. Councilman Bowles, would you like to lead us in our opening exercises?
Thanks. I heard from Lieutenant James, it was not well. Yeah, and so I was just taking a moment of silence and everybody send out some positive thoughts. Thanks to everybody. I think and wishing a happy birthday. This is thanks.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, next we have public comment. Well, we have no one signed up for public comment. Next, we will go to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. All right, now we'll go to information reports, finance report. Meryl?
Okay. The franchise fee was Comcast. The lost money in January. All the state rental is taken for. I have an error on page 2 under postage. That should really be $200. The under insurance, the $18,000 is the second smart payment. The first one was back in July. Second last for the year. Legal and professional fees were Dominion. I think that's all I have.
Any questions for Meryl? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Meryl's been very busy with the working with the town administrator on getting the draft budget ready. Town administrator's report.
Lots going on around town. We have been doing what we're calling a soft launch with the GoGov system. So that is basically to get staff familiar with the program. So if we have citizens call once we do the more public launch, hopefully starting on Monday, then they can answer questions or walk people through how to go and download the app, or if they want to just submit a request online through our website, be able to speak to them confidently and walk them through. So you'll see we'll have a marketing campaign that we start on Monday. That was a really nice bonus that came where they tell you what to write. They help you with social media posting, pictures, all the great stuff to kind of really get the word out there so folks can start using it. We had the bid opening for the Ocean View Stone Post Drainage Project, and that was awarded to Landscape Pavers, which you all approved last month. They began work this week, and construction is estimated to be completed by the end of this year. And also kind of our next big project that I want to concentrate on is we're reworking the signage project at the corner of Camp and Folly Roads. So hopefully some new concept plans will be presented in the next month.
Any questions for the town administrator?
Yes, you didn't cover this, but I was wondering if we had any idea on when the solar panels on the Arts and Culture Center would become functional.
I hope soon. I know they were waiting for some of the other utilities to kind of get on board with the new meter box location. So I don't have a definite date, but I know it's not too far behind.
Okay,
Hopefully in the next month or two.
Yeah, if you could give us an update. that
Yep,
would be great.
definitely.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so presentation of draft budget. Is that TVs won't work in the back? Well, I guess we can just look at this. Except for Troy.
I know.
Oh,
It's
yes.
kind of challenging.
Actually, she got back to her straight angle. Yes.
Yeah.
You are paying attention to that edge.
Good eyes.
This is all blur.
And so we had our workshop last Monday, where we ran through the numbers, as projected, and I got some feedback on some things that you all were looking to see, so I believe I've incorporated those into this draft. And so this is the draft budget presentation. Next month we'll have a hearing and first reading, and then the second and final reading, is proposed for May 18th. As long as everything is planned. The budgeting process, each revenue base is set on the prior year's history. Any trends or any changes, but expenditures cover personnel, reoccurring costs, departmental needs, and any council priorities. We also have our capital project budget, which lays out a 5-year plan. And in this specific budget process, we have plans to expend the American Rescue Funds by the deadline of 2026. As needed, the budget is monitored very closely throughout the year, where we could do budget transfers or budget amendments as different things come up. Hopefully not very often. So the projected revenues for FY 23-24, have an operating revenue at $4,075,722. The projected transfer in from fund balance is 76,300, and that specifically covers capital equipment costs. For a total revenue of $4,152,022. So that is an increase of $70,000 from the last adopted budget year. This slide shows the fund balances and what those projections look like. So the unencumbered fund balance is projected to be increased by about $700,000. You'll see that we have our reserve fund, which will remain at 1.3 million. The tree fund will grow significantly with the addition of the Dominion settlement money that we anticipate coming any day now. Good, it's in your hand. Stormwater funds, those are funds that are held by the county, and we have not used those in the last couple of fiscal years. So the projected balance in that account is roughly 500,000. And then the hospitality tax fund is projected at 1.6 million. And these is a review of the projected revenues from all of the different sources and how they tally up. Altogether, that equates to an increase of about 339,000. And this just shows the trend of the broker and insurance tax. That's been pretty consistent over the last couple of years. Franchise fees that we project collecting from the different sources. And we have these different budgetary divisions, which will be gone through, different area. This is like a summary sheet of the expenditures for each of the different sections under those budgetary divisions. The most significant difference, I would say, would fall under the general operations, and that would include bringing building services in-house, to have 2 new positions added to the town staff. And also you'll see a significant amount of 3.48 million, out transfer to capital that equates for the, ARPA funds to be transferred back out to the capital funds. This would be the proposed, org chart with the addition of a building official and a permit manager as it lays out today. If we were to incorporate 2 new in-house folks, that would be roughly $220,000 in salary and benefits. We also have in there projections for an engineering intern and a master of public administration intern, which would be a shared cost with the municipal association. A 7% proposed cost of living increase, and that's based on the CPI for the Southeast region mirror increases. This is just an overview of the admin budget, with an increase of about $71,000, and again, that kind of falls with the addition of new staff, mirror and COLA increases. And also $8,500 in election expenses. That's the new number that we got since I showed this to you last week. Elected officials, if you recall, the mayor's salary will be increased, and that will be implemented in the next calendar year with the next election. General operations is probably the largest increase, to show the additional 2 staff members for building services. And this slide just kind of gives an overview of our current contract or intergovernmental agreement with Boston County, where they provide a permit technician that works full time out of town hall. Our current cost is $60,000, and the anticipated increase is $70,000 to $75,000 next fiscal year. The county retains 90% of the permit fees and 100% of the plan review fees. And the town receives a check monthly for 10% of those fees collected, so that's about $1,200 a month. If we were to bring building services in-house, then they would handle inspections, review, issuing COs and floodplain management. Permit manager would handle all the permitting, scheduling, documentation, assisting with floodplain management and revenue collections, business and contractor licensing in coordination with other departments, most notably zoning and any stormwater review that they may need to do. The average number of permits issued per month is about 120. We anticipate a much higher level of service to our customers and faster turnaround time, and less communication barriers and wait times with having everybody here. The projected fees or revenue to the town will be $328,000. And if for some reason there's some huge influx, then staff isn't able to handle that many plan reviews, there are other options that charge 90% of the fee, and they could go through a private inspection or plan review firm. So hopefully we won't have to do that. The public works budget. So most of the project related expenditures were moved to the capital and ARP funds. So that's where you see a $30,000 decrease here. Tree care and maintenance, that is presented at $10,000, and then also with our substantial increase in the tree mitigation fund, those funds can be used for that for the park as well. Island Sheriff's Patrol, we hope to have a second deputy come on board in the next fiscal year that would cover the 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift. I spoke to, Sean James actually earlier. He sounds like he's doing very well. He'll be on my TV for a little while, but he sounds like himself, so that was nice to hear. He felt that, having, now that the sheriff's office has 2 permanent day shifts and 2 permanent night shifts, that, any inconsistencies or issues with having folks dedicated just to the night shift would kind of work themselves out. He said that probably would have been more of an issue previously when, you have a regular day shift person and then they wouldn't want to work in the middle of the night or vice versa. And so he said that's going to work some consistency issues out. They've done well recently in bringing on some more, filling more vacancies. So this wouldn't be something that would be available immediately, but definitely a better projection than last fiscal year or our current fiscal year. And again, 25% of funds used to pay for the Island Sheriff's Patrol would be reallocated to the hospitality fund. Areas of little or no change, planning and zoning, parks and recreation, food and safety, facilities and equipment, and community services are about the same as this current fiscal year. One item that was mentioned at the workshop was to incorporate some funds that could be used for warming shelters. When I was going through the notes from the last budget cycle, which was right before I started, there was actually 20,000 added into this budget. So I added that back into this line item for community service contributions. So that if that opportunity becomes available, then we'll have the funds in that account without really changing much of the bottom line for this budgetary division. Oh, also, a positive note, the community tutoring programs. I spoke with the young lady that runs the Opportunity Calls for Everyone. She has some really great ideas for this summer, because she does seem to think that it will continue on. So I added that budget item back into the draft for next fiscal year. So if she doesn't have a use for it, then we can look into some of the other tutoring programs in the area. The JIPSC tax relief, this current fiscal year, we committed to 1.271 million to offset the tax relief with the PSC, and based on our projected tax revenue for next fiscal year, we kept it conservative just so we wouldn't overdo it, but we brought that in at 1.285 million. So that would be a difference of $14,000 from this current fiscal year. Tax relief, so the property tax millage remains at 17.9 mils. The estimated property tax revenue is 1.436 million, and the estimate of revenue from lost property credit fund is 1.284 million. There was a question at the workshop about the difference, and so I kind of clarified that in this slide, where there would be 152,000 from property tax credit revenue fund to bring the total credits equal to the estimated property tax revenue. So that would be 1.436 million. That's the estimated property tax revenue. Minus 1.284 million would come out to 152,000 would be the difference. And that would keep the town's net property tax on all properties at 0. This shows all of the funds that go into the capital improvement plan. Capital projects, infrastructure, we foresee having hopefully several projects done in the next fiscal year. That would include the completion of Dillsborough sidewalk, phase 4, Forgotten Road sidewalk. We'd like to look into doing a second floor addition to town hall, so we have some more office space. 75,000 dedicated to traffic calming projects, 25,000 of which would go towards the
Rectangular rapid flashing beacons.
rectangular rapid flashing beacons, where they've been flashing buttons and signs at crosswalks that are not at regularly lit intersections. to hopefully complete the septic tank testing project. That would be an additional 50,000 allocated in the next fiscal year. So the total budget for that project, if you recall, was 150,000. So there was 100,000 allocated this budget year, and then the additional 50,000 in the next budget year. And then also you'll see the $444,000 that was dedicated to contribute to the RAA grant that the PSC put forward to do that sewer project. Drainage projects, we hope to have 4 of those completed in the next fiscal year. And that would be all of our anticipated drainage projects that have been on deck for quite some time. And that would, all of the ARP funds would go towards those projects in addition to these other capital projects. And there would be some capital equipment expenses, one of which would be for a dedicated officer, and that would be the initial vehicle and equipment expense. And then for public works equipment, we would like to buy a lawnmower and a trailer so we can start doing some of the regular maintenance and parts. Capital projects for parks and recreation. Dock Street Park will be in a design phase in the next fiscal year with an anticipated construction cost in FY 24-25 of $310,000. Special funds. We've got hospitality non-capital. That budget, even though it looks like there's a decrease in $65,000, that budget is basically remaining stable and the same. The big difference there is that the entrepreneur and small business support program will be completed in this fiscal year. So that special fund will be exhausted at that point. Hospitality capital projects. There are a few, one of which I mentioned earlier was the Camden Poly Road signage and flags. We were looking to that hard in the next fiscal year and get some of that work done. We think Poly Road phase 1, we have a $400,000 contribution that will hopefully we will see some progress on that in the next year. Jamestown Arts and Cultural Center, there's 150,000 that was allocated last budget year. And that would go to some of the exterior work of roof replacement. Some of the soffit needs to be replaced, and also the exterior needs to be painted. Historic Fort Johnson 100,000, but I think that's just been earmarked in case if they need additional funding. Now there are great funds that they are seeking. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? All right, thank you very much. That's town administrator and finance officer have been working really hard on getting all that together. Okay, next we go to public works report, Mark.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
There were no new requests for service in February. It should be noted that this period of time we were transitioning to our new work request system, and any requests that did come in were addressed by staff. Staff held a bid opening for Ocean View Stone Post, you heard about. Monthly stormwater managers meeting was held. We participated in discussions with Clemson Extension to plan a citizens training seminar for low impact development practices to deal with stormwater issues on residential properties. Staff participated in the quarterly drainage committee meeting. Next meeting is May 10th, 3 p.m. here. Staff sent out the invitations to participate in this year's 18th annual James Island Hurricane Expo at Lowe's, first Saturday in May 6th. You'll hear more about that as we get closer. Staff met with Sierra's Construction to discuss the replacement of the Fort Johnson radar sign that was run over. 13 additional septic tank inspections were accomplished in January. This is over 100% of the responding residents, 21.5% of the total needed. 3 residents sent in inspection reports because they were scheduled to have the work done anyway and heard we needed the information. Staff attended the Charleston Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan meeting. We did some vegetative maintenance, filled a pothole, but didn't have any signs to repair in February.
Any questions for the Public Works Director?
So how many of the septic tanks, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
how many of the septic tanks that we've tested so far have failed to this point?
3.
Only 3.
Mhm.
That is the same question I was gonna ask.
So you say, so we've run out of people to do. How many? I mean,
We got to the end of those people that first responded to us. We're getting more responses in every day. So that's the report for February. Already in March, we've had more people respond.
gotcha, thank you, sorry, I was confused about that. All right, so could you give us a brief review of the sewer spill on Harborview?
Yes, as far as I know, this was a CW spill, one of their sewer lines underneath James Island Creek at the Harborview Road Bridge. Had a problem. I'm not sure what it was, but they've been working with James Island Public Service District to keep the sewer line. Well, it's shut off, but they can pump the stuff from the pump station on Harborview Road. They put that into trucks and take it across the bridge to Plum Island. And that's what they've been doing ever since. They are scheduled to this Sunday start repairs and hopefully get them accomplished all day. They're going to have a lane closure, which we now have on the website of the Harborview Road Bridge to accomplish. You may see a barge with a big crane on there. Yeah, they're staging their equipment and everything now.
Did we hear how this leak happened?
No,
Did a pipe break?
it's a pipe break, but I don't know why or how.
So say it's a separation. So at the Drainage Committee meeting, you reported on the results from our last testing. And we had remarkably high
counts of bacteria in that location, and I think that was the January report, the February report.
and then after, that was in February, and then in February, did you contact the Charleston Water System?
Yes,
Any other questions?
Just a comment. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, well, no, that's a question's more important. No, I was just going to make a comment, please.
Yeah, I guess the question I have is, did you get any feedback when you reported that to Charleston
No.
Water Systems? Because I would imagine that if we had the elevated level and they were told about it, that they were curious to do some of their own testing there. Apparently not. And then we have another month before it's discovered by fishermen rather than the agency that has the problem.
So we pursued that.
Mhm.
And so from here on out, so right now, I mean, until now, the town, the county and the city received the reports
Mhm.
early. And that's changed. And so now the reports, when they're generated, when we receive them, they'll also go to the PSD and Charleston Water System
That's good.
and Charleston Water System is well aware of they were notified and
Mhm.
that got missed.
Okay, very
The
good.
significance was missed and that they will hopefully not make that mistake again, that they've learned their lesson.
Very good.
Oh,
Councilman Moore.
mine is just a comment. I just don't, or a comment of appreciation. I just wanted to say it publicly of all your work in getting that situation resolved through the on Schooner Road
Mhm.
with your coordination with the DOT and blowing out that pipe and getting that debris out, of that. So I do appreciate that and the prompt action on it and the DOT's prompt action and all. So I just want to publicly say that. I know I said that to you privately, but I also wanted to make a public statement about it too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, anything else? Thank you, Mark. Island Sheriff's Patrol, Chris? Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
thank you for the start again about Lieutenant James. That's very nice to you. Councilman Bowles. I did speak with him prior to the meeting and wanted to let all of you know that as of next Wednesday, he will be back on administrative light duty status. So he'll be able to take calls and do little things. He just will be out in the field and do not that much. He still has to have the line in the antibiotics. But he's excited to at least come back to administrative capacity next Wednesday. So I want to let every single one of you know, make sure you tell him, I will start. Couple things we've had some auto break-ins recently. We had 3 in one night. The suspect was identified and it was a juvenile, so I can't give their name or information, but they were charged and the parents did sign a custodial promise for that juvenile to take them before the court for breaking into vehicles. The items that he stole were recovered. We had another auto break-in on Sterling Drive. That suspect hasn't been identified yet, but they do have video footage. It's was a black man wearing a black hoodie, black pants, dark shoes, a mask, and was on a bicycle. The video shows him stop at the residence and then enter the vehicle, which was unlocked. Item stolen was a Samsung external hard drive, a Western Digital external hard drive, an Alpine subwoofer, an Asus laptop, a Charleston County ID badge, office materials, keys, backpack, and allergy medication. We recovered a stolen vehicle that was stolen from an address over off of Grand Concourse, I believe it was. But that turned up on Rivers Avenue in North Charleston. One of our deputies got behind it, chased it, was able to recover it and get the suspect. We had a fraud case from Styles Point. Individual went to open her computer and it was locked. She called the number that was on the screen. So it sounded sketchy, but she did what they asked and sent them four $250 American Express gift cards. And ordered them to unlock the computer. So she lost out on that money. It's hard to identify those types of crimes because most of them come from overseas, so. The email address provided was logged and our FSU will try and track it down, at least see if they can get an IP address. The other night when I was working, I responded to the shooting here on Camp Road. It was a drive-by shooting in a sense, but I don't believe the house that was struck was an actual target. Just based off the way the shell casings were found. If they wanted to hit the house, I mean, they were less than 20 feet from it. They could have easily hit it. It hit a corner edge and nothing else we found was hit. I think, as me and the mayor discussed about it earlier, it may have been 2 cars shooting at each other. And one just got a little wild-handed and went off, and that's how we struck the house. I don't know. We do have some residents that have ring cam footage. We're waiting on them to send that to us. I guess it's a process for them to download it and be able to actually send it. But it did capture right as the shots rang out, so we just need that footage to kind of get some suspect vehicles and take the investigation from there. I do want to touch on the shooting that happened on Central Park, though that was outside of the town's limits. Some persons of interest that have come to light are definitely residents of the and very well known to us. That investigation is still ongoing, and if anything comes of it, obviously, and the rest of them, you guys will be informed first thing. The last thing, and I want to touch on this because this has become a very popular scam that's happening, not just on James Island, but all over the county, is this person was looking for some properties on Zillow and found their own home on Zillow. And when they clicked on it, it was associated with 2 phone numbers. And what people have been doing is they're driving around taking random pictures of people's homes and posting them on Zillow and saying, if you want to come tour this, you have to cash at me $1,000 or $500. And then if I decide to rent or sell it to you, you got to send money somewhere else. This is becoming quite a popular scam recently, and it's happening a lot. We're getting calls about this all the time. So if you happen to see your home on one of these property websites, you can call us, we can document it and start trying to track the phones and email addresses associated with it. So keep an eye out for that. And as always, please remind our constituents to lock their vehicles at night and don't leave weapons and things like that. Any questions?
Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much,
I
Chris.
did forget what it's from, I'm sorry. Apologies, Mayor. I want to bring this up because a lot of people were there filming it, so I'm sure it's made its way around social media. We got a call, a 911 call came in from the Blue Water at Polly and Patterson. The gentleman stated that he was wanted and that he had drugs on him. He was currently smoking drugs outside of the entrance and to come and get him. While we were en route, he took things a step further and said, "I'm about to rob this gas station and set myself on fire." So that initially prompted us to increase our response to light siren. We got there, but he was gone. And while we were searching the neighborhood for him, one of our newer rookie deputies came on the radio, said he just came back. So we rushed back there and got to him. He's familiar to us. He suffers from some severe mental health issues, but we had to fight with him to get him detained. Even took the skin off my knuckles in the process, but we were able to successfully get him detained. He wasn't hurt. It always looks bad on camera, but he did fight and resist. We got him transported downtown to MUSC and he was committed on a psychiatric hold. So that was videotaped by a lot of people at the gas station. I want to make everybody aware of it in case you see the video and say, what happened there? That is what transpired. Any other questions?
All right, well, thank you very much, and
Stay safe.
yeah, stay safe. All right, so now we'll go to request for approval by staff. We have refresh mulch at Camp and Folly Road.
It's that time of year. So we got a quote that is provided in your packet from Heart Pine Landscaping to remulch the area in our easement, and that would also cover annual trimming of the sweetgrass and installation of the new mulch, and the maintained beds at Camp and Folly. And the total for that is $4,575.
Is there a motion to approve? Is
I'll make that motion for consideration.
there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, this is also the corner where the bank is located. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe it covers some other easement area as well, but that's kind of just where it's
So
identified.
I would
because it
say
goes
that
down.
there's no mulch at we have no responsibilities to put mulch at the bank corner at all.
Right.
So it's more on the other corner on in front of the bus station
Okay,
and then along Camp Road, by Walgreens, more or less. So there's landscaping around Walgreens, but then there's a sidewalk and then there's landscaping between the sidewalk. And so there's several places that were part of the Camp and Folly intersection improvement, of 4 or 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And the town paid to put in palm trees and sweetgrass and, shrubbery, and this is to refresh the mulch in those areas. We do have an easement at the bank, but the bank, planted grass on our easement and are maintaining it for us right now. But we don't have any, as far as I know, would not be part of this project. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. about
No,
that.
that's right. Yeah.
so as far as like these kinds of improvements, I'm for this kind of improvement. But over across the street here at, in front of the cornucopia, there's also a little bit of area that might also serve to be a landscape.
So, well, fortunately, for after many years of, so the town paid to put landscaping there some years ago, and mostly it was, town staff, really mostly myself, maintained it, sometimes better, less or more. But the owners of Cornucopia really stepped up and are maintaining it. And so they planted the pansies there and, have been doing a good job keeping it up for us.
I just thought,
Which I think is something we should encourage.
I thought it was looking kind of woeful there, and I thought that there'd be an opportunity for them to extend it over here.
Well, we can look into that and, and we could also talk to Cornucopia about a shared, so we help them, they help. I'm happy that they're taking responsibility for it.
Mhm. Okay, very good. That's all.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. A quote for a Dock Street fence.
I would like to put this off until next month.
You asked to defer. Is there any objection to deferring? Hearing none, we'll go on to allocation of 15,000 to pruning, vine removal, and care of Camp Road. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So Councilman Milliken, I believe you asked for this, would you like to speak to it?
Sure. We had a number of reports from arborists for a subset of these trees that are down near the Camp Road, Fort Johnson intersection. And in those reports, they indicated that the trees weren't in the best shape because of an abundance of vines that were growing in them. And that some of the trees also needed some attention with respect to the removal of dead branches. So the idea here is that we begin a process of caring for our right-of-way trees. There's a number of grand trees in this stretch of road. And this would be a good opportunity to start the process of caring for our right-of-way trees, particularly in this location that's so close to Town Hall and near the churches.
Any sorry, okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. The Land Use Committee report. Councilman,
No report at this time.
Environmental Beautification Committee, Councilman Milliken.
Yes, I report. James Island Pride is the Citizens Council of the Environment and Beautification Committee, and they hosted an adopted highway litter pickup last Saturday and picked up litter along Dills Bluff, Camp, Folly, and Harborview roads. We had 23 volunteers remove 32 bags of litter from our island roadways. I want to thank volunteers from the James Island Exchange Club, James Island Pride, and the James Island Charter High School Trojan baseball team for coming out and helping to pick up litter. We also wish to thank Mark, Brian, and Connor from Public Works here at the town for their help in planting 4 trees last week, 3 of which are in the right-of-way right next to the First Baptist Cemetery here on Dills Bluff Road. Those are beautiful trees, but thank you very much. And thank your staff too, please, Mark. I also want to thank the mayor and the town staff for participating in the solar panel activation event last week. It was great to see a demonstration of the software that accounts for the kilowatt hours that were generated by our new panels. It's also great to see that the equivalent of 3 trees of carbon savings were realized after only 5 days of use. That was a pretty impressive statistic. I'm hoping we could perhaps get more updates on how many trees we're saving with those solar panels as time goes on. That would be neat. I also want to thank Lowe's for donating an electric mower and battery to Helping Hands. It's a good cause where Helping Hands takes care of the yards of people who don't have the ability to do that. Lowe's was kind enough to donate an electric mower and a battery to that cause, so that was nice. Also, I have an update, the Helping Hands service event and the Seaside Lane Green Hill litter pickup that was scheduled for Saturday morning has been canceled due to likely bad weather. The rescheduled dates are April 22nd for Helping Hands and April 29th for the Seaside Lane Green Hill cleanup. So rather than having them on the same weekend day, we could spread them out and participate in both. So that's maybe fortuitous, but that's all I have.
Any questions? Councilman Milliken. All right, thank you. No report for Children's Committee, Public Safety Committee, Councilman Mullenix.
Just that we'll be having a meeting for the month of March at 7 o'clock here at Town Hall next Thursday at 7 o'clock. And that's all my report. Thank you.
The 15th. Okay, sorry. History Council has been meeting, and I would like to ask council to please think about either reappointing or appointing someone new to the council. The terms are up. And all the current members seem willing to continue to serve. But anyway, just let you know, and if we could just plan on doing that at the April meeting, that would be great.
Mayor, do you have any recollection of who we appointed, as far as a list of who appointed whom?
Well, you have a vacancy, I believe.
Okay,
Councilman Bowles is nominated Morris, Jim Morissette. Councilwoman Mignano nominated Melissa Doherty, and I nominated Mike Orbo, and Paul Hedden was nominated by
I'll figure out.
Troy. So, and then on April 15th, we are having our Civil War event, first shot that commemorates the first shot of the Civil War on April 15th at 2:00 at Fort Johnson.
I apologize, it's April 16th.
Well, it's off by a day. On Sunday.
I told you wrong.
Right. Next, is there any questions? The next, we think, well, I would also like to say the History Trail Subcommittee has been meeting, and they are working on our Go Government app to create a history trail on the app. Rethink Folly Road met, and our primary business, I believe, was to get a report on phase 1. And remember anything more? I think that's a key element. Hey, Drainage Committee. Next.
Just, we will be having our quarterly meeting of the Drainage Committee, on Wednesday, May the 10th. And I believe that is at 3:00. Yes, 3:00. So, we usually don't get those dates set that early, but I'm glad we did this time. So hopefully we'll be able to get more participation in it. So, but that's all my report. Thank you.
Excuse me, I'd like to return to Rethink Folly. There was something that would be a concern to this council. So at the last meeting, we had, it was proposed to council that the town service sponsor for phase 2, this part of the sidewalks on Folly Road, or the multi-use paths on Folly Road, that would go from where phase 1 ends up roughly at Walmart down to South Grimble Road. The city of Charleston is going to put that in as a request, and so it looks like that that'll get a request to, I think it's TSD, yeah, TSD. So that will work out. Okay, Drainage Committee you already did. I'm sorry, and Business Development Committee.
Thank you for the report.
Okay, next, Tree Advisory Committee.
Yes, the Tree Advisory Committee met last Tuesday. And we have new officers. David Tomlin is now our chair of the Tree Advisory Committee. Kathy Woolsey is vice chair, and Robin Harden is secretary. They also formulated plans for identifying future areas on James Island where we might try to do work on trees, all right, and right of ways. So more to come on that.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you. Intergovernmental Council, do we know the date of that? We do.
Yes, that is April 26th at 7 p.m.
Not too long from now. Okay. All right. Next, we'll go to proclamations and resolutions. We have a proclamation for American Red Cross Month. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
The second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Next, we have resolution 2023-04 Camp Road Grand Trees Preservation Project. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I believe that you submitted this, Councilman Milliken. Would you like to speak to it?
Yes, I did. This is the location that we've just allocated money to fix the trees on, and this is a little more about the specifics that are associated with that. This resolution actually calls for some sort of a public ceremony to recognize the good work of the town in caring for these trees, and to sort of commemorate the occasion by starting a process where we can move forward doing this in more locations than this one. I would read the resolution, but it's pretty lengthy.
Any further discussion? So in reviewing this ordinance, I think some of the checks and balances that you sought to add to it are inconsistent with both state law and our town ordinances, but I don't think it's of much significance, but I'm not going to vote in favor for that reason.
Which sections are you referring to, Mayor?
The ratings of there's various procedures for instructions for what the town administrator must do. The procedures for trees that may be dead or dying or hazardous. So, but it's, I think it could, anyway, but the fundamental project is completely consistent with the powers of council.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. It's completely inconsistent or?
No, consistent. So it's the basic idea is fine, in my view. And sound. So the town worked with one property owner in the section of the road to remove the vines from a tree, and the Charleston tree experts actually were the people that removed it. The homeowner paid part and the town paid part. And so this would just extend the program though without requiring homeowner participation. Though I don't know exactly how we'll be able, whether we'll succeed in this, but educating the property owners to keep up with it, keep the vines from coming back. When they first start, they're easy to control, but where they are today, it's impossible very difficult for someone to take care of.
Yeah, we're looking at 70 years of vine growth in these trees, so it's time for a good clean out.
Yes. All right. All in favor? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Yes.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So I vote against. So that passes. Next, we'll go to resolution 2023-05, usage of town hall and town facilities. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So
I believe that you propose this resolution, Councilman Milliken. Would you like to speak to it?
I did. This resolution is basically a mechanism by which we can specify time frame for the Anglican Church usage. And the title of the resolution is to address the usage of James Island Town Hall and town facilities at 1122 Dills Bluff Road by St. James Anglican Church. Their current application is up now, and this will at least allow them to extend through Easter services here, and then to reapply. It also provides a mechanism for council to evaluate applications for usage of town facilities, not just town hall, but also parks and other things. The idea is that, it's okay to have groups that use places frequently, but sometimes an abundance of use gets in the way of other things that were perhaps designed for the municipal use of the space. So this is just a way to kind of keep things fair and to give everybody a chance to use facilities.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We charge to use like picnic park. And I see in here, there's the $5 fee for permit. But there's an additional fee if you use like the pavilion in Pinckney Park, right? You observe it.
So there's specific days of each month. I believe it's 2 weekends. So there's 2 weekends that are totally unreservable. And then the other 2 weekends are reservable at Pinckney Park to use the pavilion. The fee for that is $150.
For 2 hours, yeah.
Right, for 2-hour periods. So it's not reservable for the entire day. It's just for either an AM block or a PM block. Use of Dock Street Park is only by special permit, so you're not able to just call up and pay and reserve and have a party there. And that kind of goes through a different process, and it's not done very often. Obviously, we don't have anything at Brantley Park at this time, so the only actual reservable space is the pavilion for a fee.
I would imagine in the hotter months. Even with our nifty solar panels. Using indoor spaces like this probably boosts air conditioning.
I wouldn't say necessarily just because the space stays climate controlled,
No matter what,
right?
but if people are coming and going.
I guess it could.
What I'm wondering is why would we charge for the pavilion and not? Like this is way nicer. Than the pavilion, it's free.
I think the intention was, and of course I wasn't here for that setup, but it was for so that it could be used by community groups. HOAs meet here pretty often. Soccer club meets here sometimes for their more administrative meetings. We have trainings held here by DHEC or DNR holds training here sometimes. So it's open and available for any range of community or educational type purposes. We don't typically have conflicts in, use. And typically when something may be happening during the workday, I think just the way that this campus is designed, it's nice because they, the folks that are in this building can be totally separate from the actual work that goes on in the offices.
And I guess the parks are more like recreation, this is more. Civic-ish uses related, that would be the.
Yeah. Mhm.
Civic and education, I think, is kind of along the same line with that.
So we don't allow private parties at the town hall
Like
facility.
you can't have a Christmas party here, but you can have it down at Pinckney Park.
Right, exactly. And then, of course, Pinckney Park is open. It's, you generally don't reserve Pinckney Park. Anyone can go there whenever they want. And most of the time, you can use the pavilion, first come, first serve.
Mhm.
But you can reserve the pavilion at a charge. Traditionally, when we built the town hall, we opened it to the community for
Mhm.
civic uses and not private uses, and we've never rented it out for any particular use. And
Yeah, I
like I
think
say, we've
that's-
never rented Dock Street. Now so it is true that if you want to have a party in many places, not just in our parks, you're supposed to get a permit to have a party. And I don't know that we would prevent people from having a party at Dock Street, but it would not be exclusive use. We're not saying no one else can go there.
Mhm.
It's just that if you're going to have a whole bunch of people at Dock Street Park, you would have to get a permit.
With respect to town hall, though, I think it's like. The intention here is to have it. More inclined for municipal purposes, things of that nature. And I think that. It's okay to let others do that through an application process, but sometimes if there's too much use by a particular group, it might. Impede the use by other groups. That's, I think, the way to do it. And I think the major thing of this is also that we're proposing here is that It's probably a good idea to have a record of what's going on here with respect to signups. So that people could look at the sheet and say, oh, they're signed up here during Wednesdays, or they're signed up here Saturday morning from whatever. So there's a way to kind of track that by the community as well and see who's using it for what, and perhaps find ways to fit in.
Well,
Right.
we certainly do have such a schedule, but we do want to, we want to be careful about, not necessarily for town hall, but we generally don't want to have a public schedule for, little girls party at Pinckney Park, birthday party at Pinckney Park and things like that. It's probably not appropriate to, but for that use, but the uses that we have here, that's not an issue. I would suggest that the notion that during business hours, that this place is generally has municipal uses is not correct. That generally during the day, there's no one in here except when other groups come. And and usually it's vacant, but we do have people come for different kinds of, like the DHEC classes, various purposes. And if we go to a system of council input, which I think is what this resolution says, then we would basically require a month's notice to have any use, which I don't think is necessary or desirable. On the other hand, if we think about the groups that are meeting weekly, that is very limited. And if there's some group that wants to meet weekly for some extended period of time, I think it's entirely reasonable to say, well, you can do that, but you have to go to council. And so you're only going to get your approval for weekly. After, you have to wait to get that. I believe it would be better if people wanted to go weekly, they could start immediately and then it would come to council. They could start meeting weekly, but it would have to continue, the next council meeting would come up. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think that's what this speaks to.
That's your understanding of it?
Yes.
So people would, but rather than 2 consecutive Saturdays and Sundays, it just, so think about weekly meetings requiring council approval.
Mhm.
But also, I think that all meetings during the business day requiring council approval, having a month lead up, but it depends on when, of course, the council meeting is when they actually apply, does not seem desirable. So I would oppose that portion of this resolution. And so I would move to amend it to strike the portion that is referencing meetings during the business day and just leave the consecutive Saturday and Sunday. And if you all would be willing, I would just rather defer it and have council come up with a policy that is consistent with this approach.
I would rather take the time and get it right
Mhm.
one time. I'm concerned if we pass this now, we'll wind up passing on another amended version of it.
Mhm.
Like, we'll just keep revisiting the issue. I'd rather just do it once and be done.
All right.
And y'all, the two of you seem way more familiar and acquainted with the need of groups for this than I am.
Well, it's really just
I would
number
second
3.
the motion to defer.
Yeah. So do we dispose of the initial motion first?
Well, the order would be to dispose of the amendment first. So I've moved is to strike, you say 3. No. It's just the in 3 or during business hours, Monday through Friday. So I move that we strike that line, that section of it. So it'd be any application to the town of James Island meeting space, usage on consecutive Saturdays and Sundays.
I'm sorry, if we're gonna defer,
Well, there was no second to defer. We actually,
yes.
oh, you seconded to defer? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were, yeah, I apologize. So we have a motion to defer and you spoke in favor of deferring.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I think we could just work on this and come up with
Well, let's do that, so that we have a decent policy in place and.
and you know, I hope this is true, but the church currently plans to meet at First Baptist in the joint service for Palm Sunday. And then we'll be in Easter in the new facility.
Right.
So they should be done by Palm Sunday, which is the 2nd of April.
And all of their weekly Bible studies are gonna also be over there?
Yes,
Okay, all right, well, that's good to know.
but we can work on the policy.
All right, and I think posting it would be helpful too for people.
I don't think that's at all. I think we can do that.
All right,
I was gonna add that I would understand this a little bit better, maybe if I saw a calendar, what the next little bit looked like, then I could understand what the occupation looks like.
I have
I
one
thought
on
you
my
had
desk.
one.
I do, it's on my desk. But I'd be happy to maybe send you a PDF,
All
of
right.
just like what March and April is like, so you can kind of see what.
I would
comes
like
through.
her to.
Okay,
Please, and thank you.
Okay, so anyway, all in favor of the motion to defer, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so that passes. All right. Let's go here. So now we have ordinance for first reading. This is the ordinance 2023-02, amending ordinance authorizing town of James Island continue participating in South Carolina local revenue services with the municipal association. Their motion to approve. Second,
Second.
would you like to speak to this, Nikki?
sure. So we got this communication, and I hope by providing the memo that they gave to us, helped you all in understanding it as well. But basically, they're rebranding. So they're changing the names of the 3 different revenue services that we receive from the municipal association, so that they're insurance tax collection program, the broker's tax collection program, and the telecommunication tax program. So they are being rebranded as local revenue services. In 2020, the General Assembly standardized the business licensing in the state. And every municipality in the state had to adopt a revised business license ordinance. As a result of the local revenue services rebranding and the adoption of the new local business license ordinance, they are required to update the ordinances and the agreements that each municipality has with them to receive these funds. So this is really just an amendment to change the names of the funds that we receive from them in their rebranding effort.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. All right, there's no ordinances for second reading, no old business. Under new business, we have discussion of potential election ballot referendum to create a president of town council position. So you asked to put this on the agenda,
Oh, yeah.
Councilor Mullinax, would you like to speak to it?
It's just some, this book discussion tonight. This is something I've thought about for some time. I even spoken with some of you casually about it during the past few months. You know, a lot of other municipalities and cities have this throughout the country. In some cases, it's no more than a ceremonial position. In others, it's almost like the mayor. I mean, it does, it's like sometimes even presides over the meeting, act of the parliamentarian. All right, that's too far. I don't want to go that far. I'm looking at kind of a way of not diminishing the role of the mayor or increasing the role of council. I'm looking at trying to promote a balance between the two sides, a better, more direct route of communication, to say, you know, and some, like, for example, when the agenda is set, I would propose this position if it was approved. And again, this will have to go to a ballot initiative. You know, we can't make that decision here at any time. But if the voters did decide to do that, I would propose that, like, when the agenda was set, that both the mayor and council have an equal say in that. And this position would be elected by the council members and the mayor too. Everyone would have a say on this position, you know, on whoever did that. And that is one thing. And also, I think that it would be good for this position to appoint the committee positions, because it's from council. So it's better that the person elected by council would make that, call. And also in extraordinary or emergency situations where a state agency needs to reach someone, they reach the mayor and they reach a representative of town council. So both sides knows what's going on. Sorry about that. But that's just something that I think would promote a balance, and again, not to weaken the office of mayor or to strengthen the position of council, more of a better direct communication.
So,
Councilman Wilkins.
so if I'm to understand this, it would be something not exactly like a mayor pro tempore, because that's somebody who acts in the stead of the mayor if they need to, right?
Yes, yes.
Instead, this president of council would be more the spokesperson for council.
It'd be almost like
Is that it?
yes, it'd
And
be
then they
almost,
would have a direct relationship with the mayor, developing things like agendas and things.
yes, it's almost like in the legislative branch of a state of the federal government of a majority leader, almost. Where, like, with our mayor pro tem is almost like a lieutenant governor or a vice president, it's largely ceremonial, but it steps in if something happens to the executive. So mayor pro tem, president of town council would be two totally different things and two totally opposite directions. So that's just something that, like, and it's called different things in different places. New York City calls it Speaker of the City Council. Los Angeles calls it President of Town Council. Baltimore calls it President of Town Council. It's just something that I have read about and I thought sounded kind of interesting, and something I've been kind of toying with for quite some time. So but anyway, so this is just something I just kind of wanted to bounce this around in a public forum open to the public, to kind of, since this will eventually, if we eventually approve it, would go to the public, for yes or no.
Any other discussion? So we asked the municipal association and they said that under the mayor council form of government, that this is not possible. That under state law, the mayor presides on council. And then we asked our town attorney for his opinion, and he referred to various attorney general's opinions in cases that in South Carolina, there are 3 forms of government: mayor, council, council mayor, and council manager. And the examples that Councilman Mullinex gave in Maryland and New York State and California, of course, aren't in South Carolina. And I'm not really sure what kinds of forms of government they have there. But I think to have a position called, something like president of council or speaker of council, the first step would be to get the state legislature to create a new form of government that allows for this. And then if that were to happen, then the town council could approve moving to this new form of government, and then it would go to a referendum. But it is just not possible for us to sort of create our own system of government through the referendum process. We've got 3 choices. And so we could move to a council mayor form of government instead of mayor council, or we could move to a council manager form of government. And that could occur on the next November. And exactly how that phases in with the new people elected, I'm not sure. It would seem to me that the new system, the new people would apply to the new system, but I'm not sure about how that would work out. But just adding a president of council does not appear to be, according to the municipal association or a town attorney, legal in South Carolina. If we move to a council mayor form of government, it is in a way more flexible for what council chooses to do, and administrative responsibilities for council. So under council mayor, ultimately all administrative authority is in council. And so delegating administrative authority is more feasible under that system. But, under the status quo, our agendas are developed by the town clerk. Now, as a practical matter, most of the things the town clerk puts on the agenda are things that the town administrator asks for, things we need to do. All members of council are free to add things to the agenda. There's a deadline of Thursday. We determined sometime in the last couple of years that Thursday close business. So we're not under a system where the mayor forms the agenda and can tell members of council that we're not going to put this on the agenda. And I know that there's conflict at the public service district now, where their rules are that the manager, sort of the town administrator, creates the agenda with the advice and consent of the officers. But we don't have that system really. All members of council can put things on the agenda. And then as for, I know that in some municipalities, the mayor does appoint committees on council. At least that's what I understand happens in the city of Charleston. And I also understand that in the PSD, that chairperson of the PSD appoints all the committees and their chairs. But our committees were formed by resolution by council. All our committees were formed by council, and they include all members of council. So and then the committee, which is all members of council, elects the chairs. And so the mayor does not appoint the chairs of committees or decide who's on committees. And so unlike the city of Charleston or the current setup at, say, the PSD, we don't really need to have a president of council, in my opinion, to set up committees or appoint committees. We don't do that. And so I don't think we can really move this direction. So it's, if there's interest in changing our form of government, there's limited choices. I have always thought that the council manager form of government is best for our size operation. That is my opinion. But, that would require a referendum to do any change. And the other possibility is council mayor. And if we do nothing, we stay after the next election, it'd be mayor council still.
Well, it was just my hope to try to promote better communication and, so things don't happen, that others may not know of. So that's all I was trying to do. And I had requested that the legal part of it, had been made known to me, and it's the first I've heard of it. But anyways, though, so I wouldn't have even proposed this had I known that the South Carolina Municipal Association has so many other good ideas, did not think it was a good idea themselves. So anyways, so I'll just, end it at this point. But again, though, I knew I was going into unknown territory. I knew about the referendum part, but I had asked, about some guidance on the legal part of it. And this is the first I'm hearing of that. So anyways, so thank you for your enlightening speech.
I will add one thing, that the deadline to put something on this next election year's ballot is August 15th.
Okay.
All right. Any other executive session? Okay. Closing announcements, closing comments. Councilman Bowles.
No, just keep them together to the games and our thoughts and providing safe. Wish the weather would be out a little bit. About that. Thank you. And thank you, town staff, for all you do too.
Councilman Mignano.
Yes, happy birthday, Sergeant James. Get better soon. We can't wait to see you again. Thank you, town staff, for doing all that you do. Also, on a side note, I know the BZA is looking forward to hearing an apology from James Lund, PSD Commissioner, for her actions last month. And I wish you guys all a happy rest of the month. Thank you.
Councilman Milliken.
Yes, just a reminder that y'all get to sleep in Saturday. There's no helping hands and there's no litter pickup over on Green Hill and Seaside Bank.
And Councilman Monax.
Oh, yes, just again, as just to echo what others have said, I hope that Lieutenant James continues his improvement. It's good to hear he is doing much better and hope he continues in that direction. We all miss him here.
All right. There being no further business, call meeting adjourned. Thank you.
I didn't know anything about that.
Nikki explained that.
I knew the referendum was part of it, but I didn't know the legal.
Okay,
I
I'm
knew,
sorry.